Thank you.
45 points. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Minister, I'd like to ask you a few questions, which I want to use my time. I don't want to bundle all my questions. I will work within my time. I will ask you the answer I ask you. Within my time.
You said you want to see the dialogue in?
Yeah, interaction, that was hearing about.
That was asked for time.
You got 2 minutes?
Yeah,
Other people spoke more than 2 minutes.
You take
Some
it,
maybe
man.
5, 10.
you taking the mental.
Yeah. But I will respect the chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Minister, I just want to ask you.
And I take 1 minute at the mental.
I just want to ask you, if it came for us to appropriate the Recast budget, or you already appropriated a senator?
Question, Senator, I came to a hearing to discuss the recast process. I assume that this process is going to inform the appropriation that we should be doing under the law.
So you acknowledge that we should be doing the appropriation?
Senator, it's not for me to say. The law is very clear as to what the responsibility of the Senate or the House of Representatives.
Okay. So the budget as is already appropriated in draft form, I will state. Left to also let it go like that, or we'll do some appropriation as we deem. Correct?
I mean, technically, again, the role of the legislature is to do just that. So I can't stay here and tell you that the Ministry of Finance or the executive can write the law. You write that budget law.
Thank you, Mr. Minister.
But I can advise. I can advise to what extent, especially in an IMF program, okay, to what extent, because we're in a program right now, and so I can advise to what extent we can do that based on the numbers, because you may not be looking at all the IMF numbers. So, yeah.
Mr. Minister, when the IMF advice, we have the appropriation power. So when you suggest $1 this place, we can appropriate $50 there. Especially when we believe it is a priority. But I'd like to ask, we are in the third quarter. We are in the third quarter of the budget year. It would be naive on my part to be demanding a budget performance report for the second quarter, knowing that we just concluded the second quarter. Where is the budget performance report for the first quarter of this budget year?
That report is on the Ministry of Finance's website. It was published months ago. The report for the second quarter is under development. We're still in the statutory period. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. We are preparing the March-June quarter. So the second quarter just ended. So they say we have, I think, 45 days and all that kind of stuff. So they're working on that. Actually, I just had a meeting before coming here on that. So I'm expecting that report to be finalized. So I don't know. I asked the team this morning, when you complete this report, you put it on the website. Is it the understanding that you think the legislators are aware that it's on the website? We should be sending a formal report to them. So maybe that's where some of the confusion has been. The information is available to the public. The report, the public is seeing that. So what's going to happen now, Senator? I don't think I think we may send some copies of that report, send a letter to you with the link, so it's good to save cost because there's a lot of production there. But in the purpose of this recast, we should provide you synopsis even if we're not completing the project. So that's what we're working on right now.
Mr. Minister, you say you think you will sell us copy or you honor legal obligation to submit copy to the
I asked, look, I asked them, are you supposed to send 103 copies every time you do the outtime? They could not answer the question. They said, if we publish it, I said, you need to send it to them. So I think one thing is that information is available. but you should receive a copy. So maybe you're not even aware. So even if they're not sending it, once they make it publicly available, a letter to the Senate and the House to say the website, the report is now online.
Correct.
For purposes of cost savings, whereby maybe they have 5 copies, but the rest of the legislature can access it online. I think that's what we're working on right now. The showroom can deliver that.
So my concern is because budget performance report will inform me and the legislature as to whether the budget is performing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go through your budget. Your suggestion. Because the first thing I need to do is,
Don't forget, you give us the same attitude. Let me declare one time.
Senator Jackie, you always tell me when I want to go.
No, why would be trailing for?
Yeah,
I'm
you
telling
want
the
to
chair.
No. There's a serious
That's what they
discussion.
want. I'm telling
The
the
chairman
chair.
has the discretion.
No.
Now let you go.
I'm reminding him, you will give us the same
I always
attitude.
do that.
Because each time they represent a county. You represent Motorola, I represent Sani.
Senator Jackie,
No, that's a fair request.
look,
That's a fair request.
Minister Tua know you
I'm
very
being
fine.
up for, you being up for
Minister Tua, we know you very fine. I need you to demonstrate it for them.
Now look at that.
Yeah.
But I can be very
Yeah,
good.
you can be manager of our we are in some network.
So what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
What's that?
Let me tell you. You don't tell me what to say. I'm saying we are gonna say nothing that you got it. No, we're gonna say nothing. You can't be alone. Everybody will be alone. Already now we're gonna say
I need your own
that's a child we're looking at here. Yeah, I'm telling you how to do, and we have to do. Let me respect the people. That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Who else in the building?
Thank you, my brother.
But I would be never own time too.
You said we are thinking. Mr. Minister. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Minister.
There are no restrictions to your question when it comes to budget. There's
Mr.
no
Chairman, thank you for your
Thank you,
protection.
sir.
Yeah, I think
But I see also, let me show, thank you.
moving forward, no restrictions.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got 2 more questions so my colleague can be at ease.
That's what we're talking about.
Mr. Minister, I see you got here $8 million. Let me make sure I get it number correct, the figure correct. On proposed expenditure. $8 million recurrent expenditure. I can't know for the record. This is a recast budget.
No, my man. Have your hearing. So I want to leave.
Exactly. DA.
You can't behave like this.
DA.
Come back.
There you go. You can read that word.
Thank you.
Yes, he doesn't want to recognize us. He gave him preference for all people.
Thank you. Mr. Minister, all of the PSRP component of this recast draft We got 4 million,
That would be it.
3 of which is projected for community development projects. Correct?
That's correct.
Good. I'd like to know what projects you're talking about.
Some people get that.
Yeah.
He's starting again, you see that?
Yeah, what the whole year we left out.
Please.
The person will not see where we can meet
That's
them.
not the decision about the conclude. He didn't even have conclude again.
Thank you. The community development project. Where? Masoniki, that plenty you want. I want to see the listing of the projects.
That's a good question.
I want to know the counties the project going to. I want to know what kind of projects and the cities they are going to. If any of those projects come into Monterey County, I need to see the list before I vote for this project, because I want to tell the people of Monterey County to be expecting street light this place, road connection this place, armchair in a school, bed at a hospital. I want to know, so I can tell them that I have approved a budget and the president will be bringing it, so that when he brings it, it's not presidential project. Lastly, the first question I asked about being appropriation power, I know the answer. We have the authority and the power constitutionally to appropriate. The flood all over this place, with the rainy season, it has shown us what we should be preparing for. You said it on the recast and you didn't make any consideration for the disaster management relief agency. Do you think it would be a wise thing if this body, this appropriation shifting to empower the disaster relief agency? I think my concern about this HPX is a little absent. I will have to read the documents, especially so since I've just received them. They will inform my decision further. Recurring expenditure, 8 million on expenditure, recurring expenditure, 8 million. 4 million for goods and services. 1.5 for debt. And a domestic debt. You get it? What is this? Okay, so several police want to ask questions. Yeah, please answer those and then I will use the microphone to my colleague before they say I'm taking everything. Let me give them what we're doing. Oh, yes, sir.
Hello?
Hello.
There's Jeremy Minister answer.
There are people being in Bakulo.
Okay, I thought that you asked one question on the Community Development Project. This is, the government is working with the development partners led by the UN United Nations Development Program on this community-based approach. The UNDP has a very successful program of this nature in Senegal and other countries. For the last 2-3 years, they've made proposals to the government about replicating the success that is in Senegal, because there the development is localized. We have been having conversations with them. It makes sense, the model makes sense. So you're right, all the project documentation and all the rules about this, which counties, what this is funding, should be in your purview. Definitely no question. So I think all the project documents will submit to you. The goal is that as we move into the medium term, we want to work closely with the development partners to perfect this. Yeah, so that it can be well coordinated. It's a whole system. President Macky Sall has done, and it's working, solving problems in agriculture in Senegal. It's solving problems in service delivery, and so we want to adopt some of that approach. All the development partners have urged us. I think the American ambassador once made a statement that the government should consider that, because they heard that there were being discussions between the government, especially from my side, the president approved this, but how we made it happen was a delay there. So we decided that, look, you know, let's pilot. One of the things is that let's pilot this. The assumption was that we move to a larger amount. I agree that, look, we could pilot this. Once we pilot and see how it works, there's a basis for inclusion. So the fund, along with us, agree that $3 million is a good amount. The World Bank is going to bring, I think, $7.5 million into that. No, I think it's even more now, I'm understanding. So some reallocation is happening in the World Bank space to add to what we're doing in the $3 million, so that they have a credible $15 million to start. You are right. You earned, you deserve regular rights for projects under this designation. So, Montserrat County projects, you approve it, you have a right to go to your districts, to go to communities, and say, I helped make this happen. And so you should claim political credit for that. And it's not just, everybody, all experts should do this. So this is the way we're going to. You're right. The other question on disaster management, yes, I think, you know, the situation is serious. So if you reappropriate some amounts, I don't see any, there may be a need for that. Normally we provided some resources for them, but the way the flooding happened quite recently, I think in the recent time, 8 days in a row rainfall, it's an anomaly. So I would encourage the National Legislature to see what possible shifting can happen. I mean, so we start addressing some of that as we go towards the 2023 process, which will so be
Did that?
Okay, yeah, so we have here debt, 1.5 million. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Domestic debt?
That is correct, yeah.
List. List.
Sandra, I think we provided, there's been some confusion that we provided all of the public debt information to the National Legislature. And I know you've been an advocate, you've been on the radio around the debt. The fiscal outturn of the debt, so what happens is that when we pay debt, we provide the information to you on who we pay. The understanding has been that you are arguing that before debt is paid, you should have the determination as to who to pay.
No,
okay.
No, sir. No,
yeah.
No.
So the issue here is that once we pay debt, the debt service report who we pay will be available to you.
No, it's not available to us.
We will provide that. But
no,
Chief, but the issue has been that when you appropriate money in this budget year, whether that money is paid, whether it's not paid, the year has to end, and then you see the fiscal outturn.
I agree. Minister, 2021 fiscal period has ended. We pay over $80 million in domestic debt. That means if you pay, where's the list?
You see, when you said list, the confusion is that when we pay $80 million, we're not necessarily paying it to people who borrow, who government owe, meaning service providers. Every year we pay $14 million to the central bank on interest on the central bank loan. So $14 million times 3 now, since the IMF program, will be around $42 million has gone to the central bank just on interest. Commercial banks, the same amount, even more. We inherited a T, but we've been paying interest on it since 2013. We're still paying interest on it. So when you sum all those monies together and you're not careful, you put $200 million in the public is as if this is $200 million that we have to be given to the people who are providing service to the government. No. The amount that we have allotted each year under vendor payments is negligible. 8 million, 7 million, that's the amount.
What about this?
Yeah, so when you say that,
What is that list?
I assume that the team provided that information.
No.
Yeah, the team
No, I
provided.
said security risk provided information.
No. The team provided that information. Or this is This is legitimate. This is legitimate.
Before the Senate and you honor oath. You before the Senate and you are honor oath. You can't say to me at this body that your team provided that list.
Okay, I want to see what list they provided. But I know they've been here, having hearing, they submitted, they're informing that they submitted all the documentation to the House.
Are you the microphone?